Which rule was created because of something you did? I got candy banned in middle school. In 6th grade I saved my candy from Halloween and sold it to people over the next week. I made about 20 bucks, so next time my mom went to Sam's I bought a large box of Mars candy. I sold that. Those boxes were about 20 bucks and you can make close to 40 from them. So every week I would save 20 and spend 20 on the candy for next week. Closer to the end of the year I expanded and was selling a box of ring pops, a box of assorted Mars candy, and a box of Skittles every week or two or so. I finished the year with close to 500 bucks in my savings account. I was homeschooled in 7th grade. My parents thought I could get ahead or something, and it was retarded, so I decided to go back to regular school in 8th grade. When I got back I learned that in my absence the year before, everyone and their mom tried to sell candy. It got so bad that the principal banned candy. I walked in the first week of 8th grade with a box of candy and the first day someone told me it was banned. I finished selling that box over the next couple weeks and then closed my first successful business due to excess regulation by the authorities. When I was in middle school we had a stupid zero tolerance policy. No violence. If you got in a fight or they just punched you for no reason both get expelled and cops get called. Well, there was an annoying guy in my school. The acting kid always wanted to start shit with anyone he could. One day he came at me and punched me. I didn't do anything since we were in school. The teachers showed up, things happen, lots of talking, I get told I'll be suspended and ticket. I say okay and I just jump on him. I mean he was not expecting that reaction. Teacher starts screaming, pulling us apart. I get in the same amount of trouble as I would have if I had not acted. Get sent to alternative school 3 months, then I come back. Seemed that while I was away anytime any fighting happened both kids would go crazy to the point where they were asking why the jump in violence. Everyone said if I'm going down either way then why back off. Kids are stupid and would make mountains out of molehills and then escalate too fast over nothing. This new mentality made them make a rule. If you don't act or hit back and just call a teacher they would not punish you. No melee attacks at this laser tag establishment. Subscribe to Toad Films. Most of these are from kids and young adults so far. Mine happened in my 40s. No tall structures in your garden plot. That rule was added to our community garden regulations after I built a 12-foot high, 16 feet on a side framework for hanging tomatoes. This was in a 20x20 plot. They first tried to make me take it down by invoking the rule about shading other garden plots, but I pointed out that I had a reg plot near a tree. My shade never hit another garden. They then tried to get me on the no permanent structure rule, but my wood on dirt foundation is the legal definition of impermanent in our local building codes. They gave up and let me have my wooden Parthenon of tomatoes, but they changed the rules so that nobody else could build one. No Aldi in the Atherstone region in the UK is allowed to have an employee of the month anymore because of me. When you win it, you get a £20 free shop which gets put through as store expenses. Mine flagged up at head office when they were going through the expensed receipts. I spent it on a bottle of vodka, some Sabatius and Tokyo knives, tissues and painkillers. I bought them because I needed them all at the time. It was only when my manager took me to one side and asked if everything was okay that I realized that I had made a suicide kit. And now no one else will ever get £20 for being awesome, thanks to me. TLDR, raised a bunch of money in high school, changed how fundraisers work in that school forever. Me and a friend in high school kind of forced the school to make a rule on how clubs/organizations can raise money. My friend and I were leaders of a business club and needed to raise money to cover expenses for our club members to participate in competition, hotel rooms, travel, food, etc. Well, we didn't want to do the standard fundraiser because we didn't have the numbers to sell mass quantities of anything and knew the money raised from that would be minimal and inefficient. So, as businessmen, we decided to make a presentation to real businessmen at the local Chamber of Commerce at their next luncheon. We explained what we are, what our club does, etc. And at the end of our presentation asked for their support through donations. Well, we got $5,000 that day all from donations. Other clubs at the school complained that was unfair, so now no clubs at the school can take more than $100 from donations per year. I'm now 24 and quite a few years past high school, but the relationship between the Chamber of Commerce and that club is still strong. They now do an annual golf tournament as a fundraiser, and it brought in $11,000 for the club this past year. Since the funds are raised, it's not considered a donation. The same teacher is still there and invites me and my friend every year to their extravagant dinner/field trip that they take the club on at the end of the school year to use up any leftover funds. I'm the reason you can't drink beer in class at my alma mater. I had a prof that dropped a grade for every class you missed. I missed 5 classes and got an F, meaning I had to take it over. I aced every test and knew the material. The next year, I took the class again and showed up every day with nothing but a small cooler full of beer. I would sit in the front and loudly crack open cans of beer and drink them. The prof couldn't do anything because there was nothing in the handbook to prevent it. The next year, there was. I used to put a straw on the butter dispenser in movie theaters and stick the other end in the bottom of my popcorn so the whole bag would be buttered. Taught my friends how to do it. They taught their friends. Then one day, the theater put a sign up that forbade anyone from putting foreign objects on the butter dispenser. It also said that, if you wanted butter throughout your whole bag, that you should ask the employee to do it. I'm oddly proud of that little sign, knowing that I inadvertently started something that grew to such a level that a sign was even necessary. My friends and I, in high school, had bought a toaster at a nearby yard sale and brought it in. We set up shop in the downstairs locker corridor, having purchased a bag of sliced bread. For a brief time we were the kings of toast, providing toast to all who desired. People could bring their own condiments. Anyways, I don't know what the rule was verbatim, but soon after we weren't allowed to plug in electronic cooking devices in the hallways. Our reign had ended. When I was in middle school, rubber bands were banned because I bought a big bag of 100 to 200 of them and gave them out to other kids. Sold them for like a quarter, whatever. People ended up having rubber band wars in the hallways and classrooms, flinging them at teachers and that. One day the principal announced over the PAR system, "I don't know where everyone's getting these rubber bands from, but it needs to stop." Everyone in class simultaneously turned to look at me. Returning back to college for homecoming, me and 8 other guys went to a Best Western's quiet bar in the morning before the football game for some hangover helping Bloody Marys and breakfast. When we arrived we found out they serve bottomless mimosas. Wrong move. We drank the entire rest of their stash in one sitting, 25 plus bottles, and paid $4.99 a piece. We decided this would be a great way to start the following day as well. When we arrived, however, we were informed that, because of our antics, there will be rule of a maximum of 3 mimosas per person. Instated starting that moment. We went back the following year, still had the rule. Well, not really banned, just made them put up a huge sign. Me and a buddy were donating blood in high school. Our school turned our gym into a donation center 3 times a year. We were juniors in school, both 17. So we fill out the paperwork, read the packet, blah blah blah. When we get to the tables we look at each other. Not sure who said it, but someone said "wanna race?" and the other agreed. So when they put the needle in our arm the nurses walked away, since it usually takes a while to donate. Just as they walk away we start squeezing that little red ball as fast as we possibly could. We both filled up our blood bags in about a minute. The nurses were worried and had us sit down on the bleachers for the rest of the day. Next year when we sign up, we are told we cannot go together. We still did. It was a mix of going to a small school and us not giving a fuck. When we got to the gym there is this sheet of paper on the door that says if you donate in under 5 minutes your donation will be terminated. Please, it is for our time and your safety. Everyone knew it was us. TL. Dr. Me and another dude had a blood race. I lost. My buddy and I fried up bacon in an electric skillet at work one day. It was glorious, the smell, the happiness, the dancing in the hallways. Until management put an end to it. The bacon ban of 09 is still referred to in our government office whenever mean-spirited rules that kill fun are discussed. Which is every fucking day in Walkers, Wisconsin. No underwear, no service. My sisters and I were big fans of being naked when we were kids. We are Swedish. It got to the point where my mom had to put her foot down and instituted the rule that I and the rest had to minimum be wearing underwear to be served breakfast, lunch, or dinner. At boarding school, we technically weren't allowed to use the phones, but staff would get lazy and tell us to call the administrative office and ask if so and so was sick. Routine stuff like that. It was also how we all got in trouble for smoking and whatever, because staff in classrooms would call the office and people would be dispatched to whatever area it looked like kids were hiding in and skipping class. One day I mapped out all the extensions on the system, Northal Meridian, and gave instructions to about a dozen people about how to forward or park a phone to the classroom next door. We created a daisy chain that the system hadn't anticipated and looped the chain back to the administrative office. The system didn't have an error exception for that, and it crashed completely for at least an hour. When the system was finally up and running again, one of the administrators was so angry, he told me he would staple me upside down to the wall. After that, they tried really hard to enforce the rule about kids touching the phones. A few years ago at a doctor's office I went into the bathroom just for some privacy to make a phone call. I kinda just mindlessly leaned against the sink, and it fell, like came undone from the wall, and crashed to the ground. Next time I went to that doctor there was a sign in the bathroom, please do not sit in sink. Went to a small school and the teachers lived to overreact to anything, which, being teens we found hilarious. Words banned school-wide, carb, spam, Pakistan, also no projects allowed which involved Pakistan, also all bird sounds were banned with a special emphasis on peacock and turkey calls. Edit, story time. Ha. Carp wasn't me. That one was going for years. The insane librarian somehow got the idea that kids were using carp in the place of basically anything that could be inappropriate, and she wouldn't let it go. She would bring it up to freshmen on day one that carp was not allowed. Pretty much begged every grade to carry it on. Spam was outlawed because we used in place if anything we weren't sure of. Basically we weren't sure what spam was made of, so it became the word that symbolized that. It was used very much in Spanish class. Pakistan was teachers really overreacting. A couple of us just found ways to make every class project somehow Pakistan related. Why? Because that's it. We were 17. Who knows? We would find the most obscure things about Pakistan to tie into anything. I mean we studied the shit out of Pakistan to be able to do it. Any teacher worth anything would have jumped on it to teach all of us about another part of the world and a far different culture. My teachers instead threatened detention if we even mentioned that beautiful mountainous country. The bird calls had to be annoying. One person would make the call and pretty much everybody would just follow suit. Forgot about this one. Someone would yell someone's name is cooking Johnsonville brats. Then for an extended amount of time everybody would point out the person that would be cooking Johnsonville brats. Like it was really happening. And that it was really important. Might be a coincidence, but the Skype update that added a word limit to messages came out the day after I used copy/paste to send my friend somewhere in the realm of 12 billion smilers at once.